Christmas season! Hooray! A time to make merry with loved ones, a time to give thanks.
Welcome back to Atn Business. Now the details. Gained 70 billion naira. The trend of the local bourse was primarily driven by the stocks of Axis Corp, United Bank for Africa, Zenith Bank, First Bank of Nigeria Holdings, and MTN Nigeria. 10%, the same percentage as the value added to the market capitalization. ASI closed the day at 71,669.91 points, and the market capitalization stood at 339.21 trillion naira. At the close of the market, transaction volume increased to 375.32 million units from 503.84 million trades valued at 3.8 billion naira from 7,011 deals. The number of stocks that investors traded during the season, while UBA saw 12.87 million unit worth 291.32 million naira, 1.7 million units of its shares valued at 256 million naira traded in 279 deals.
The naira appreciated by 27.16% to close at 884 naira per dollar on the official investor and exporter window on Monday. This is as the daily turnover of the dollar surged by 86.83% to $132.46 million at the closing of trading from $70.90 million last Friday. The naira rise suffixed a 234.76 naira gain from the all-time low of 199.5 naira per dollar. It closed trade last Friday according to data from the FMDQ Security Exchange. On Monday, trading opened at 867 naira per dollar before hitting a high of 1,185.10 naira per dollar, then a low of 720% dollar. It eventually settled at 864.29 naira per dollar as the daily turnover of the dollar hit $132.46 million. Monday's rate signifies
to private individuals. The chairman of the Electoral Committee, Warri Depot, and National Officer, Ipman, Midwest Zone, Ben Ojigo, made the allegation in Warri, Delta State during the annual general meeting of the association in Warri on Saturday. He appealed to the federal government to make petroleum products available to Warri Depot and fix Warri refinery without further delay. According to Ojigo, the authorities should stop deceiving Nigerians under the guise of turnaround maintained, and they are able to make the Warri refinery work. That is when the government planted by the Commissioner for Oil and Gas, Vincent Oyibo, they urged the Ipman to conduct themselves peacefully, promising continued support for the state government to the union. He noted administration and appealed to ministers of the union to remain focused and united.
The Corporate Affairs Commission is set to delist 9,843 companies for failing to file their annual returns with it. In a list published on the website, the Commission deletes 91,843 companies for delisting, 2,738 less than the 94,581 it initially published in August. This is still less than the initial 100,000 companies that CSC said it will remove in the earlier announcement. In July, the Registrar General and the Chief Executive Officer CSC, Gaba Abubakar, revealed that the commission would delete 100 registered companies from its database for failing to file an annual return to the affected companies before embarking on the action as enshrined in Section 692 of the CAMA 2020.
About 20 German companies have expressed their interest in investing resources and technical knowledge to boost local production and improve the nation's export commodities. This followed a dialogue between officials of the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission and a private sector delegation comprising of 22 companies from Germany and Europe on an exploratory mission to explore potential investment opportunities on Monday in Abuja. The leader of the delegation and deputy head of the United Nations Investment and Technology Promotion Office, Michael Smith, while speaking with journalists, said the meeting was to enhance bilateral ties with Nigeria and implement agreements during an earlier visit by the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz to the country. The companies, he said, would invest in providing technical support in local food processing and transfer of green and sustainable technologies. He said, "You are asking about trade, and that was what the meeting was about. We are trying to increase the capacity of industry."
The Nigerian Customs Service has revealed its plan to generate 6 trillion as initial generated revenue for the federal government in 2024. The NCS Comptroller General, Mr. Adewale Adeyini, stated this at the 2024 Budget Defense before the House of Representatives Committee on Appropriation on Monday in Abuja. Adeyini said that the amount was higher than the 5 trillion originally projected in the budget. I share the optimism of increasing the revenue to 6 trillion in 2024, so 6 trillion revenue in 2024 is possible, he said. The service would be able to generate the 6 trillion revenue if the federal government reduce occasions grant in 2024. The new law will also help us to facilitate a number of the issues that will make revenues generation possible. It shows that the NCS realized over 11 billion from the exercise, adding that there were still lots of goods yet to be cleared. Speaking on the import duty exemption, Adeyini said it was usual a presidential order given through the Minister of Finance. However, Rep. Abubakar Bichi, the chairman of the committee, commended Adeyini for his effort to generate more revenue for the government. Is there a possibility to increase your revenue? We will be glad if you can make it 6 trillion in 2024. He said the Bichi said the revenue hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu will not be achieved unless the revenue generating
is now to 18% in 3 years. This is closer to the African average, he said. It will be recalled that the current administration is targeting an 18% tax revenue GDP ratio. Edun said the government is eager to ensure the effective collection of taxes and blockage of leakages. The emphasis is on raising revenue. He added, the Minister of Security Services Limited, owned by ex-Niger Delta militant leader Government Ekpemu Polo, aka Tampolo, has denied allegations of involvement in crude oil theft made against it by the Nigerian Navy, insisting that it was the Navy that has bad eggs sabotaging the fight against the MENA. He has Judases within its rank who were sabotaging the efforts to combat oil theft. He said Tantita's relationship with the Navy has not broken down. If you listen to the Navy, they said they work with a lot of other private security service providers. But I guess it is a bit of a culture shock that maybe for the first time they are working with someone like Tantita who has got such tenacity and capacity to do damage to those who want to do damage to Nigeria. We have Judas everywhere. We have Judas in the Navy. And Niswo further detailed Tantita's intelligence gathering process, revealing they received information about the tanker's departure from Ghana in November 2023. He claims they tracked the vessel's movement and alerted the authorities upon confirmation of its involvement in oil theft. He highlighted the suspicious flag changes the tanker underwent, stating with Sierra Leone, then Togo, and then finally Nigeria in May 2023. And Niso questioned who was behind these changes, implying potential political influence.
Chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, and other stakeholders has called for tax holidays for businesses operating in Nigeria. The stakeholders spoke at the third National Advertising Conference, which ended at the weekend in Abuja. They urged the federal government to consider tax holidays for some categories of businesses as part of its ongoing economic reforms. According to them, there are over 200 types of taxes in Nigeria. Out of these, 60 are officials, with challenges such as in a paper titled, "The Current Economic Reality in Nigeria and Imperatives of Reform," said it will be impossible to do business in Nigeria and comply fully with all laws and pay all the taxes. There has not and never helped us, he said, adding that revenue does not increase because the number of taxes has increased. That has not and will never help us, he said, adding that revenue does not increase because the number of taxes has increased. Example bounds that the fewer of taxes
enough revenue to support its developmental needs, the International Monetary Fund has disclosed. According to the IMF, the country's 9% revenue to gross domestic product ratio is very low and not enough to support the country's social safety net, development spending, and protect its vulnerable households. The director of the IMF's communications department, Julie Kozak, revealed this during a press briefing on Thursday. Responding to a question on Nigeria at the briefing, she said, "As we mentioned in our article, consultation which was held in February of 2023, raising revenue from the very current low revenue to GDP ratio of 9% is essential to create fiscal space for social and development spending. 9% of GDP is a very low revenue to GDP ratio, and it's really not high enough to be able to support strong social safety nets and development spending to help protect vulnerable households and also to meet Nigeria's development needs." She, however, noted that Nigeria's 2024 budget hopes to prioritize priority spending both on social and development side. She stated the 2024 budget aims to produce the fiscal deficit while also creating space for this priority spending both on the social side and also on the development side. Low revenue has become a concern in Nigeria, with federal government recently moving to improve its revenue to GDP ratio. During the 2024 budget presentation, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Abubakar Bagudu, said revenue generation remains the major fiscal constraint to Nigeria's fiscal viability. However, government is reviewing current tax and fiscal policies with a view to improving revenue generation. The target is to increase the ratio of revenue to GDP from less than 10% currently to 18% within the current term of this administration. Efforts will, however, focus on improving tax administration and collection efficiency. Further commenting on Nigeria at the press briefing, the director of the IMF's Communications Department, Kozak, noted that inflation in the country is very high, crossing the 27% mark in October. She stated that the IMF expects the CBN to hike rates further at its next MPC meeting. She declared the central bank under its new leadership has started to withdraw excess liquidity that was in the system and contributing to high inflation. The next Monetary Policy Committee meeting should further raise policy interest rates, so the central bank is taking action to try to address the high inflation problem.
During the past week, the banking index of Nigerian Exchange Limited recorded the highest gain of 6.08% week-on-week compared to other indexes on the local bonds, as investors' wealth grew by 66 billion naira. Banking stock enjoyed considerable patronage from the investors during the week, which pushed the industry to a 5.01% gain on Wednesday. Sell-off, however, hits the stock triggered by reaction to the news that some Nigerian bank with international operation has capital adequacy rate below the regulatory benchmark on Thursday. In its second economic quarter report on the financial soundness indicator, the Central Bank of Nigeria revealed that some banks with international operators have a capital adequacy ratio below the regulatory threshold. The Apex Bank said the developments reflected a decline in the bank's total qualifying capital relative to the increase in the risk-weighted assets due to the depreciation of the Naira exchange rate as a result of the adoption of the market-determined exchange rate policy by the bank.
The federal government is planning to rehabilitate and construct 1,925 roads and highways across the country in the 2024 budget proposal. The government also allocated 548.56 billion naira for road construction in 2024, with the East, West and Benin Akure roads getting 2 billion and 3.75 billion naira respectively. This is, however, separate from the 288.44 billion naira allocated for the modernization of 329 roads and bridges in the 2023 supplementary budget. If road projects in the supplementary budget are added to those in the 2024 budget proposal, it means the government is expected to spend 837 billion naira on 2,225 roads and bridges in the 2023 and 2024 fiscal years. The budget also made provisions for the construction of culverts and drainage in flood-prone areas on federal roads in the southeast zone at the cost of 3.03 billion naira, 10.7 billion naira for the counterpart funding for the expansion of the Abuja-Kefi carriageway, while the rehabilitation of 3 sections of the Lokoja-Abuja road got 6 billion naira, dualization of Suleja Mina Road Phase 2 in Niger State got 500 million naira. In the South-South zone, provision was also made for culvert drainage in flood-prone areas on the federal government road network for 4 locations in Rivers State for the sum of 2.6 billion naira. The rehabilitation of the Odukbani Itu Ikot Ebene Road, Section 1 Idukbani Itu Bridge head, both in Cross River State, received an allocation of 1.5 billion naira. The ministry also proposed to spend 15 billion naira on emergency contingency funds, 145 million naira for gaming and sport equipment, while local travel and transport was allocated 33 million naira. In the budget, the Federal Road Maintenance Agency also got 66.702 billion naira for the repair and maintenance of federal roads and bridges in the country, while appropriation of 1 billion naira was given for the construction of the agency's corporate headquarters.
The Central Bank of Nigeria suspended the processing fees on large cash deposits released by the Acting Director of Supervision, Dr. Adetona Adedeji, on Monday revealed the new developments under the guide to charge by the bank, other financial institution and non-bank financial institution issued on December 20, 2019 with reference number. The suspension shall remain in effect until August 30th. CBN said the CBN had in 2019 declared that it will begin to levy bank customers making cash deposits and withdrawals as part of its effort to reduce cash in use. The CBN also make known that for corporate accounts, the deposit money bank would charge 5% processing fee for withdrawal and 3% processing fee for allotment of amounts about 3 million. Consequently, all financial institutions regulated by the CBN should accept all cash deposits from the public without any charge on going forward. Please be guided accordingly, the Apex Bank said.
The value of corruption and illicit financial flow in Nigeria and other African countries was yesterday estimated at $88.6 billion yearly. The capital flight estimate, courtesy of the Director General, African Development Bank Group, Lamin Barrow, is a major drain on capital and revenues on the continent, undermining productive capacity and prospects for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals and the African Union's Agenda 2063 goals. Barrow, at an executive training program on enhancing accountability, transparency, and curbing corruption and illicit financial flows in Africa and Abuja, said the financial Morris, made worse by lack of accountability and transparency, create a vicious cycle of a fiscal sinking hole in Africa's public resources. He recalled that the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development in its Economic Development in Africa Report 2020 noted that 1/6 of the continent's aggregate government revenues derive from corporate tax, and 10% of that revenue was lost to avoidance.
An expert and professor of capital market Uche Nwegleke says commercial bank recapitalization is likely to rejuvenate the stock market. Oweleke, in an interview with the news agencies of Nigeria, described the idea of the Central Bank of Nigeria as a welcome development. He said that the capital was needed to finance big-ticket projects, especially as the government was targeting the 1 trillion economy in a few years. The last time CBN forced banks to capitalize was in 2004, when Charles Soludo, former CBN governor, raised their capital base from 2 billion to 25 billion. Uweleke suggested the use of the differential cash revenue requirement as well as preferential participation in the foreign markets for well-capitalized banks as some of the incentives. It should be more about prudential guidance to strengthen the present tired agreement. The use of the car is a good example for whatever it is worth. Small bank playing at the regional level.
The state Al-Wadhi, during a media presentation with African journalists at the IATA Global Media Day in Geneva, called on the federal government to take the matter seriously. He listed Nigeria as the country with the highest amount of airlines blocked funds at $792 million, followed by Egypt $348 million, Algeria $199 million, AFI zone $183 million, and Ethiopia $128 million. He said it is getting to a breaking point for the airlines. They are contemplating stopping operations in Nigeria. Nigeria should look into this to resolve the issue. The airlines don't have the cash to expand their operations. Ethiopia is seeking a way to resolve the issue, even though the blocked for both parties to engage. If parties don't engage, it is very difficult to move forward.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has suspended application for new loans under its development financial intervention. Also, banks are now responsible for recovery loans already granted. Among other things, the CBN said it has commenced pullback from direct development financing intervention. CBN added that the banks are now responsible for the recovery of loans granted so far under the Development Financial Intervention Fund. A circular is titled Suspension of Acceptance of New Application under the existing Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Development Financial Intervention Program. CBN said the furtherance of the Central Bank of Nigeria new policy trust focusing on its core mandate of ensuring price and monetary stability. The bank has commenced its pullback from direct development financial intervention. Accordingly, the CBN will be moving into more limited policy advisory role that supports economic growth. In consideration of the above, the CBN wished to inform you that it has stopped accepting new loans application for proceeding under any of its existing intervention program and schemes. It is important that you communicate this to your customers and kindly note that the interest rate as well as other terms and to note that your bank shall be responsible for the recovery of the outstanding balance on all facilities previously assessed through your bank.
In a bid to sensitize the electronic call-up system, which has been immersed in controversy, the leadership of the Nigerian port drivers involved in malpractices in the call-up system, a memo dated 7th December 2023 and signed by the Apapa Port manager, Mr. Charles Okaha, said that a total of 9 trucks were identified to have been in the resale of the tickets, adding that the management of the Truck Transit Parks Limited would disable the trucks culpable in matter of the system. In the letter, one of the illegal tickets was diverted from ENL Consortium to APM Terminal, while all 5 tickets involved were also diverted from Eco Support Service to APM Terminal, as another 3 illegal tickets were also diverted with APM Terminal. Part of the letter reads, quelled a recent online media report on the racketeering of Eco call-up tickets to the tune of 150,000 naira. The Nigerian Ports Authority has swiftly initiated measures to curb.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today.
Welcome back to Atn Business, and right here with us in the studio is an entrepreneur and a marketer, Miss Beatrice Ogunte. You're welcome, Miss Beatrice.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. No fewer than 6,000 jobs are expected to be lost as 5 notable companies shut down their production factories in Nigeria. The manufacturing giant, headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, United States of America, joins a growing list of multinationals to dump Nigeria in 2023 owing to the reasons that have resolved around business profitability. Other multinational firms that have also left Nigeria in 2023 include Unilever Nigeria, GlaxoSmithKline, Sanofi, and Bolt Foods. P&G, the biggest of all the 5 names, leaves Nigeria with a portfolio valued at $85 billion, with Nigeria contributing 50%.
Like our leaders before now, they left a pattern that we're supposed to work towards, but they are derailing. If they can come back and make us appreciate what we have, like what our previous leaders did, like Gowon, Moitala Mohammed, and then we follow. Even if they're not willing to model this, we can do it ourselves.
Now,
as youth.
now we know that one of the things that follows after you lose a job is depression, and it's quite a sad news that there are no jobs right now in Nigeria. What do you think that youths, because we have a lot of unemployed, but what do you think they can do to fill in the gap for the moment? Because we cannot keep crying over the exit of these multinationals.
Exactly.
They have decided to go, and there's nothing we can do about it. How can we cushion the effect of their exit?
We have to work with our brains right now. I can remember when I left school, I had money. I wasn't even waiting for the government to like give me a stable job or something. I went back to my thinking box. What can I do? I grew up from a very responsible family and I know how to cook. I just improved my skill and I started selling food. I started with like about 17,000 naira, but I had like 40,000 naira extra on top of my capital. So what can you do? And how can you improve on your skill?
Well, you know, right now it's not really about what you can do or how can you improve your skill. It's about us getting the quality things that we're talking about. You know, if we are in the technology world, we can look at a farm. We're talking about farming Nigeria, go back to farm agriculture and all of that, and we don't have the right equipment to even, cultivate. This is where we are talking about. Our leaders, are they ready to assist?
They have to.
All right,
They really have to.
Well, she's talking from the view of an entrepreneur.
All right, rising inflation, corporates with a sigma income has plugged many Nigerians' households. Teaching how to farm. A man that is hungry can't teach a man that is hungry how to farm, and the person farms.
How long will you keep giving them food? Why can't they work for their food?
That it brings us back to skill.
Exactly.
Okay, so the thing is now, this is the Yuletide season, and it is. I hope it's not going to be a sad one, because with the price of things in the market, a lot of people are complaining, a lot of people are groaning. We can't buy staple food.